Hello everyone, welcome back. So I hope you have studied the last lecture very carefully because today what we are going to deal with is a review of the last lecture as well as a further move on with reference to the last lecture. So this lecture is basically a continuity of the last lecture. In the last lecture we had seen something about a major component, that is ozone. We are studying ozone for past of around last week itself, and we are going through the concepts of ozone. We have also studied for how the ozone is interrupting or how ozone is playing a major role in the human life system, or rather I can say living life system. So whether it be a living or whether it be a non-living system, ozone is one of the major component for all the kind of systems which are surviving there on the earth. Also, we had seen in the last lecture regarding some of the major details of the ozone, and these details were related to the structure, the physical properties, what was the actually chemical reaction, or rather than I would say how is the ozone being formed. Like we had studied something about O3, and we have also seen something about a major component as how O3 is formed. So I am sure that you people have gone through this very carefully because, as I've said, unless and until you do not understand the actual process of ozone formation, what is the chemical component of ozone, what is the physical structure of ozone, actually does ozone have a gaseous property, does it has an odor, etc., etc., you will not be able to understand the further process which is going to take place with the help of ozone. And today we are going to start with this important process, and that process is called as a Chapman cycle. So in the last lecture I had ended up with one of the major topic of discussion. I have told you that Chapman cycle is also called as ozone oxygen cycle. It is some scientists also refer to it as natural production of ozone oxygen. Now why are these complementary names given? Rather, अगर आपको बहुत अच्छी तरह से याद रखना है तो आप याद रख सकते हो this process can be called as ozone oxygen cycle. But again, as I said, you have to go for most of the probabilities of remembering these cycles. So any kind of question can be raised with regards to the ozone. For example, the uh, question can be raised as the ozone oxygen cycle is also called as. So maybe they can give you a multiple options and you'll be expected to choose a correct option. Okay, or else it can also happen that they might ask you a question, natural production of ozone and oxygen is also called as, and they'll give you a number of options, and maybe they'll ask you any one or two of the option is correct, and the options might be Chapman cycle and ozone oxygen cycle. So at that this time, if you have both the options within your answer, it should always look forward for the option very correctly. Okay, so there is a possibility of rather giving one option or more than one option, so anything can be possible. Let's move on with what actually is meaning of Chapman cycle, or rather I would say ozone oxygen cycle. So I've just opened up this slide of Chapman cycle, but before that I would just like to tell you how does the name to be called as in Chapman cycle. This process is called as ozone oxygen cycle, and in this process there is a continuous generation of oxygen and ozone. That means continuous generation, destruction, generation, destruction, generation, destruction. So this process goes on. This is a chemical process, right? So we are completely dealing on with a process which is a chemical process, and this process is completely a chemical process in a sense. It has its typical chemistry. So this process takes place with the help of ultraviolet radiation. In the last lecture also, I had told you something important about the ultraviolet radiation, or rather I can say about the sunlight. And the important thing which we mentioned about is that without the sun or without the radiation, the life existence is impossible. And so also is there with the non-existing or non-life system also. That means abiotic system also. So it is regarding the Chapman cycle that a person called as Sidney Chapman, and I'll just spell it out, Sydney, Sidney Chapman. So he was a person who actually in 1930 gave the complete chemistry which is involved in the process of formation and destruction of ozone and oxygen. So henceforth this process is called as ozone oxygen cycle, and on the basis of the name of a person or a scientist who gave the process, who was actually involved in giving the process completely, was Sidney Chapman. Henceforth it is also called as a Chapman cycle. So Chapman or Sidney Chapman was a atmospheric scientist, and he carried out one of the major process, or he gave the finding out of one of the major process which was taking place in stratosphere. So we know that ozone is present in stratosphere, right? We had studied in the last lecture that ozone has a major unit of production in stratosphere as well as in some part of mesosphere. So we had looked forward for this production area in our important part, that is segments. Also we had seen that ozone varies from place to place. It also varies from temperature to temperature, and from one geographical area or maybe a seasonal condition it changes. What is the criteria about ozone is the Chapman, that means Sidney Chapman, he found out that around in a single day the sun can produce a 12% of ozone layer, and this chemistry or this chemical reaction whatever he gave was named after him, and henceforth it is also called as a Chapman cycle. So you have to keep in mind this thing. Why was this cycle, that is ozone oxygen cycle, called as Sidney Chapman cycle is one more reason. Okay, so what did he tell? Now what did Chapman found out? That he gave the process how oxygen and is converted into an ozone molecule, or rather on the second hand he also found out how ozone is reacting with other molecular components, like it can react with nitrogen, it can react with sulfurs, it can react with chlorine majorly. And he gave the question, or he gave the content, how these molecules or how these are getting fertilized and how are they reacting. After the reaction, what is the major component which is formed, which is the minor component which is formed, what is the role of this major component and role of minor component, was the idea of Chapman. What did he do? He gave the very first reaction, and this reaction was something related to fertilization. So he said oxygen is getting fertilized. Okay, fertilized in a sense, oxygen, we know that O2, it is a formation of two molecules of oxygen molecule, that is O single molecule, and these are coming together to form one good component which is utilized by all living organism present on the earth, most probably, that is aerobic organism. What he said, when this oxygen is raised to a level of stratosphere. So we had seen in the last lecture also, there is something gaseous material present in troposphere and stratosphere. And same thing he studied on, that there's gaseous material which are present in the stratosphere or troposphere, rather stratosphere and mesosphere. Why stratosphere and mesosphere? Because we can find the ozone to be present over there in that area only. What he gave, when the oxygen is rising at the level of stratosphere, there is of course emission of sun rays continuously. What happens? O2 captures the UV rays. That means whatever the light is coming from the sun is being captured by O2. Okay. Now mark my words and look forward for the arrow and cursor I'm showing you. So basically what happens? O2 is capturing the ultraviolet radiation, and we had discussed in the last lecture also how much of ultraviolet radiation will be absorbed. So you have to go forward and look for it. So when oxygen is capturing ultraviolet radiation, what will of course happen? This oxygen molecule, that is O2, will break down. It will, because there is a high energy. Ultraviolet radiations are very high. It's up to 210 to 290 nanometers. So it becomes very hard. So this UV radiation breaks down the O2 and it converts O2 into free radicals. Okay. Now you can find a difference over here, that O2 is converted into 2O, and I'm representing over here with a dot, that is called as a radical dot. Now why do we represent such thing? Is for the presentation that this oxygen, that means the two oxygens are combined to each other now also, but they are not binded to each other with a strong bond. Rather, the bond has become now weak bond for the further process. Henceforth, it is radical. That means it has lost some of the protons or electrons present in it, and henceforth it is becoming a radical now. That means a loose bond is created. Now further, what happens? The oxygen radical, that means this oxygen radical, when in comes in contact with the another oxygen molecule, okay, because we know that O2 and O3 are freely present in atmosphere. It is very much conditioned that they are present freely. So when this oxygen radical, free radical, comes in contact with another O2, it immediately forms a product called as O3. So because there is a free radical, that means there is a possibility of exchange of protons and electrons, and because there is a possibility, that means there is a possibility of formation of bond. As the bond is formed, it becomes O3. Now you know that O3 is nothing else but it is something related to ozone. That means ozone is created. Now, even though we have taken time to understand this process and explain this process, you can just imagine that everything is taking place in the environment, in the stratosphere, and UV radiation is continuously coming. It is not taking a break, right? It is not saying, okay, fine, now I have reached a particular oxygen radical, so I have to wait for the reaction and then I'll go with the next part. That is not possible. So the radiations are coming continuously. When the radiations are coming continuously, when there is a chemical, when there are gaseous material, either it's harmful or either it's useful. It can be anything, but they are present around the ozone continuously. They are present in the stratosphere continuously. Because of this, what happens? A continuous reaction takes place, and this continuous reaction is very fast, even what we think beyond. So this is very much faster than our imagination. Now what happens? What he gave in the second reaction is sometimes the ozone gets also reduced. So I said in the very first sentence itself that he explained the process how O2 is forming into O3. That means what is the actual reaction or chemistry of formation of ozone. At the same time, I said that he also gave one of the major property how the the ozone is reacting with other chemicals, right? So this is the same thing what Chapman said, and what he further explains is because like we know ozone is present in stratosphere and sun rays are coming or radiations are coming at a very fast rate, at a very immediate rate without any interruption, of course it will break down. Same thing happens with ozone. That means now ozone is breaking down with the help of UV radiation of around the that means a wavelength of 240 to 310 nanometers, and it is breaking down into a simple product that will be called as O2 plus O. Now again see over here what is happening. Again there is a formation of O2 and O. That means O again becomes a free radical. Now you can imagine if this O is becoming a free radical, of course this will again combine with some secondary component or some second molecule of oxygen. Or maybe if this is not a free radical which is released, it will find some another kind of O to form O2. Both the possibilities are there. And because this reaction was given by this person called as Chapman, this process is continuously being a natural process is also called as a Chapman process. The next thing what we are going to discuss today is regarding the ozone depletion. So we know what is ozone That means what are the major components of ozone depletion, and I don't need to explain you much more about these components because it is very much a revision part which we had gone through few past lectures, and we are going to see in the next slide also. So I'll just give a very brief overview about the ozone depleting substances. So basically, when a question is being asked that what do you mean by ozone depletion, you have to always keep in mind that answer should be that there is a decrease in the concentration. Okay, keep these words in mind and be it very clear that it is always a decrease in concentration of what? A concentration of ozone. That means thinning of ozone layer takes place. ओजोन का डिप्लीशन हो रहा है, मतलब क्या हो रहा है? उसका साइज कम हो रहा है, वो थिन हो रहा है, उसमें डिटोरिएशन हो रहा है, उसके गैशियस मटेरियल स्पेशली जो O3 मटेरियल है वो खत्म हो रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द गैशियस प्रोडक्ट्स विच आर हार्मफुल प्रेजेंट in the stratosphere. Because they are reacting continuously with O3, they are eliminating it, breaking down. ये अभी हमने पहला प्रोसेस देखा था, like O3 is being broken down because of the UV radiation. Now imagine if this radiation or if this sun rays raises its temperature more than 240 nanometer, if the wavelength is more than 240 nanometer, what would be the cause? Henceforth, ozone is getting depleted, and henceforth we are creating a part that is called as the hole in the ozone. So if you remember that there is something called as a hole in Antarctic part or Arctic region is the reason because of ozone depleting substances. So ozone depleting substances ये आप लोगों को पता है, हमने डिस्कस किया था. Substances such as the products like CFCs product containing products. So CFCs are basically the coolant products, and these coolant products are causing a direct effect. Reason is because it contains a chlorine molecule, and chlorine is not at all good for ozone. It reacts very instantly with the ozone molecule and causing a eruption. The second part is volcanic eruption. So volcanic eruption is a natural process. Even though natural process, it eliminates out some of the components. For example, like we had discussed in the acid rain, a natural process, natural component which is given out during the volcanic eruption is nitrogen compounds, that nitrous compound, and these compounds are also not that good for ozone because they directly react with the radicals of ozone and they disrupt or deplete or break down the ozone, which is not again formed very spontaneously. Because this process, that means what Chapman told, formation and destruction should always be very active process. But what happens because of ozone depleting substances like CFCs or volcanic eruption products like nitrous oxides, the products get attached to the ozone, because of which the ozone is not able to form or break down. Okay, and it of course has a limited time period and then it fades away. So that is one more problem. One of the important again problem is polar stratospheric clouds. So because there are, we have said that the globe, it's our earth is a globe, we are not having that much of round kind of structure because of which geographical conditions are changing. So when the clouds are there, the polar region especially gets more cloudy area rather than any of the equatorial area, and here it causes a major problem in functioning of the ozone. Broadcasting is one of the major area which is causing a depletion in the hole. So broadcasting in a sense your radio waves, so that is one of the major factor which is causing a depletion. And then you have to keep in mind one of the major question, and that is who discovered the hole. That means there is a process called as formation of ozone hole, and this ozone hole was given on by a scientist called as Halley and Faraday. Okay, so these were the two scientists who gave a valuable concept, and this concept was called as a hole discovery on a part of Antarctic. Okay, this hole was discovered in around 1970s, and when they discovered, they found out that compared to another part of the earth globe, it appears that sun is having a problem over there, or rather atmosphere is having a problem over there. Reason was ozone layer which was present, the thickness of the ozone layer which was present in that area was not that good. it was rather very difficult for people or organism over there to survive, and because of which they gave the concept called as Antarctic hole. So for hole in the Antarctic. And this study from 1970s almost is continuously going on till date, and we have very much made progress in this Antarctic hole regeneration. But sometimes again it becomes important for the human society to look forward for this kind of environmental studies, because we are creating a hole, we are regenerating again a hole in the Antarctic and Arctic portion. The next question comes is, why Antarctica only? Why is it we are studying something about the Antarctica only? Reason are very much clear, because Antarctica is somewhat a polar region. Okay, not somewhat, it is a polar region. So when it is a polar region, that means we are talking something about a region which is colder compared to all other regions. And when we are talking something about the colder region, that means we have seen in the very first part, in the very start itself, that ozone varies from season to season, from geographical areas to geographical areas. So when there is a very cloudy area or a cold area, of course, a sun rays will not reach to the level of the earth's surface, because there is no direct connection or no direct radiation occurring on the surface area of the land of polar region. Then what happens over there? Of course, there is a seasonal problem. That means the seasons over there are very much different to that of our season on the equators. So the season over there is much colder. Because of this season, the chlorine is very active over there, and we know chlorine is emitted out very fast at because of the use of human sources, whatever the humans are using in a source product of chlorine. For example, like we had discussed something like sprays, foams, etc., etc. So chlorine is becomes active because the region over there is very cold. This region, because it is very cold, it is not having a UV radiation or less amount of UV radiation. The temperature is dropping down, the chlorine is becoming active. Of course, it will directly react on the ozone. Now, this reaction on the ozone creates a problem, and there is a complete crystallization. That means आपका ओजोन फॉर्म ही नहीं होने देगा, और रादर फॉर्म ना होने के साथ में क्या करेगा, वो completely एक ऐसा प्रोसेस, एक ऐसा चेन फॉर्म करेगा जिसमें आपका ओजोन पैक होके रह जाएगा. दैट मीन्स ना वो ब्रेक कर पाएगा, ना वो किसी और यूजफुल प्रोडक्ट के साथ में कंबाइन हो पाएगा, जैसे हमने पहले स्लाइड में देखा था. सो जस्ट अ ब्रीफ रिएक्शन ओवर हियर. It's not important to remember this reaction, only you have to keep in mind why is Antarctica studied, just for the reason because Antarctica is colder in complete globe area, as well as because of this cold regions there is active production of chlorine molecule, and because of this chlorine molecule there is an active destruction of the ozone product also. Then what do you mean by Arctic hole? So we had seen something about the Antarctic hole, which was found out in 1970s. The studies was given in 1970s, and what further came forward in around the 1991 is something similar reaction to that of the Antarctic hole to the Arctic holes also, or Arctic regions also. Now we know our Antarctic is a part which is completely colder. Okay. Opposite to that is the Arctic regions. So Arctic region is having a severe warm condition. That means two poles are having severe conditions, and these severe conditions are causing a problem. So always keep in mind what I told you in the last lecture also, that when the nature is there, environment is there, it has its own capability. It runs its own study of philosophies. Like it needs a particular kind of moisture, it needs a particular kind of temperature, it needs a particular kind, everything should be very maintained. And what happens because of human existence or whatever the pollutant we have created is things are going extreme. That means it is extreme cold in Antarctic, and now it is becoming extreme warm in the Arctic region. Now what happens when it is becoming extreme hotter part in the Arctic region is, of course, the ozone layer will receive more amount of sun radiation, that is UV radiation, which are either harmful or maybe useful to the organism, but it is direct penetration. And ozone layer, of course, because of human existence, we have created a pollution. This pollution is reacting itself with ozone, which is depleting it. Now this depletion is of course because of natural resources also. For example, I've given an example like in Mount Pinatubo, that is in Philippines, they have found that there are dust particles which are causing something of product, which are creating a product of aerosols. So we discussed in the last lecture something about the aerosols, if you remember, that aerosol or perfumes. So these are the products which are hazardous to environment because they directly react with the environmental gases, and they can cause either an acid rain or they can cause an ozone depletion. Also, if you remember in the acid rain, I've discussed one point that acid rain is one of the reason which is because of which the ozone is getting depleted. I told you this thing in the last lecture also. So what happens because of this volcanic eruption, the poisonous material or harmful material which is coming out of the earth's surface, for example nitrous or sulfuric acids, these are coming out and they are directly reacting. Because they are directly reacting with some of the water molecule, a harmful acid is being created, and of course this is coming back to the earth. So when it is coming back to the earth, of course this clouds or this material or this chemical reaction of acid formation is taking at a upper level, that means above the ozone, and when it is coming down, of course it will penetrate through ozone and then it will come down. When it is coming down, this ozone gets reacted, that means this product which are acidic in nature, for example chlorine or sulfuric or nitrous oxide, they directly get affected or reacted with the O3 molecule, and expected result is that O3 molecule breaks down, खत्म हो जाता है O3 molecule, because of which हो क्या रहा है, there is less formation of ozone. So the thinning जो हम बोल रहे हैं बार बार कि ओजोन लेयर थिन हो रहा है, उसका मतलब ही ये है कि फॉर्मेशन नहीं हो रहा है, रीजेनरेशन नहीं हो रहा है O3 का, रादर खत्म होते जा रहा है. एंड सेकेंड इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग, रीजनरेशन कौन करेगा, प्लांट्स करेंगे, राइट, बिकॉज ऑक्सीजन कहाँ से मिलता है, कौन जनरेट करता है ऑक्सीजन, इट इज प्लांट्स विच आर जनरेटिंग द ऑक्सीजन. बिकॉज वी आर लैगिंग द ग्रीनरी ऑन द अर्थ, देयर इज अ लैक ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, और जो भी ऑक्सीजन हो रहा है तैयार वो सारा लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म यूटिलाइज कर रहे हैं. हेंसफोर्थ ऊपर ओजोन के लिए ऑक्सीजन कम होता है, एंड अगेन a same thing happens, there is a lack of formation of ozone because there is less amount of oxygen and more amount of acidic components. So in the today's lecture we had seen something about what do you mean by Antarctic hole, what do you mean by Arctic hole, why to study Antarctica and Arctica only, who discovered the process of ozone, who is the person, you have to keep these names very clearly in your mind, and the years also. Also, we had seen something about the ozone depleting substances. We'll look forward for this ozone depleting substances if time permits us in detail. Also, we had seen something about the Chapman cycle. So keep this my name in your mind very, very firm, that this person was the person who, because of whom we are studying this ozone right now. So rather than only looking forward for Chapman as a single process of cycle, what he gave as formation and destruction, we can look forward that if he would have not given this reaction, a basic reaction, the further process which we are going to look forward would have not been clear at all. So we'll stop over here and we'll meet in the next lecture. Till then, study hard.